Hey everybody, welcome to Bad Publicity. I'm Jameson.
I'm Sly Squid. We're going to be talking about some cards today. Now just keep in mind that all of this information could change based on cards that we find out later on. So it's just today's date.
Yeah, we deal mainly in Netrunner. My name is Corpse, and we're going to be reviewing some cards today. Not reviewing, just really talking about them, kind of playing around with them in our heads. So what's first on the agenda, Jameson?
Today we have mandatory upgrades. It's a Haas-Bioroid Agenda. So first off, is this too expensive? Is this cost worth the reward?
I mean, we're going to be talking about it a little bit more like as we go in, but I personally do not think it's too expensive. We talked a little bit about how much we think too expensive would be for this card. Me and Caleb both agreed that, or Corpse more, I'm going to have to edit that one. Me and Corpse were talking that 8 is at the limit where we wouldn't put it in our deck, and 7 would be more hairline whether or not we'd think about it. But I think 6 is an amazing deal for this card, personally.
I think that it is a pretty good deal. 6 points is usually a lot to have to pay for something that's only going to score you 2 agenda points. But this is the card, and I'm sure that there will be a wipe or a splash of this so you guys can see exactly what it's all about, is when you do score this, you have 1 additional action to spend each turn. So that could put the Corp right on par with the Runner, with 4 actions each turn. That's a pretty huge advantage, and to me, that is definitely worth advancing it 6 times.
So how many are you putting in your deck?
Myself personally, if I was to run Haas-Bioroid, I would feel that 2 would be the maximum number. I certainly wouldn't want to come across 2 at any one time. I would want to have basically 1 at a time, and I wouldn't need it right away. I would want that middle to late game. So if I'm going to have to hold this thing in my hand the whole time, I want to be holding 1, not 2. So 2 is the magic number for me.
Squid?
So my brother Vol, who would probably come on here periodically, but I'm going to reference him a lot because he plays Haas-Bioroid, and we've tinkered around with his deck. I disagree. I like this card a little bit more than Caleb. Maybe not more, but I would be comfortable running 3 of them in the deck because I feel like even if you try to advance it, Haas-Bioroid's going to have a big glacier going on anyway, and I think it might be pretty easy to advance it. And I want 1 as soon as possible because there's a lot of runners right now, not necessarily our group, that like to build up a rig before they make a constant run, especially through 3 or 4 ice. So if you can get that 3 or 4 ice out early enough, then I think that scoring this, I mean, getting that out as early as possible changes the game, and it swings it in your favor so early.
Well, how quickly can you get something like this out? What combos are you using to help this?
I mean, obviously, the main combo would be just how a Haas-Bioroid runs, which would be layers and layers of ice. If we're to do the math, it costs you 1 click to put into play, and then it's going to cost you essentially 2 clicks per advancement token. So it's going to be costing you 13 clicks, assuming that you didn't draw it, which would cost you 14 clicks. Now that seems like a lot, but we have to think of all of these, and that's how I kind of break down my cards. But we have to think about a lot of these as how many clicks are you going to invest for later turns. Yeah, I think 6 is fine. I play mainly Genteki, and 6 would be huge. I basically wouldn't be able to play this in the type of deck that I run. But I think that if I was to build a Haas-Bioroid deck, I would cater it around this card.
Corpse, how quickly are you getting this card out?
Pretty quickly if you're using your cards right, your money cards. So definitely you're going to have to fill your deck with some interesting, well, basically almost every kind of money card you can. You're going to be having your hedge funds in there, you're going to have your Melange Mining Corps in there, you're going to be having the most important one, which is probably going to be your Adonis campaigns in there. Now, what I would mainly do, and why I say mid to late game for bringing this card out, is if you've got yourself a pretty decent remote server built up with tons of ice, you could put an Adonis campaign behind there. And you know that if you play this card right and you activate it on your opponent's turn before it becomes your turn, you've got 3 more turns before that card is now useless and gone. But you've just gained like $12. which is going to be enough to certainly pay for advancing this thing. So,
now see, like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. Like, especially you're not only gaining the click as a reward. That's what we have to understand. You're actually gaining points to win the game. So that's, I don't know. I think that you could score this thing easy in 2 turns. I mean, with a biotic labor and enough money, obviously, which Haas-Bioroid doesn't really run out of money, depending on how aggressive
biotic labor definitely get a pan shot of that, so you guys know what that one does. But that's going to be a huge help in scoring this.
Biotic labor. I mean, you can play the card, put the 2 advancement tokens on, kind of bluff that you're. I mean, you can hide behind your ice, bluff that you're playing a June bug, but you could score this in 2 turns as long as you're playing really aggressively with a lot of money.
Sand possibly. Sand
would work. I don't exactly remember the splash cost of Sand and whether or not I'd splash it in there. I know that the way we've built Vol's deck is he runs a lot of Genteki cards, and it's almost as a bluff to kind of hide these things in play until he's ready to score them.
And it works.
So he runs Edge of the World, which when it's just face down, it makes it so scary to run through a server with 3 ice. And then once he's ready, he either trashes that or waits until you go for it, and then he starts playing his mandatory upgrades, and then that's how he gets them. And he gets them relatively fast. I would say, I haven't actually counted the turns yet, but I'd say that he gets them. If he had one in his hand, he would try to have it by 4th or 6th turn, which swings the game huge.
So we rate on a scale out of 7, and me personally, I think this is a must-have in any Haas-Bioroid deck as of right now. I'm rating this a full-out 7. Squid?
I don't give. I'm gonna scale back it a little bit, because there are cards that I think are better than this. Those are the ratings that I'll save for 7s. I think like Adonis Campaign would be a 7, but this, I agree, is a must-have. I'm gonna scale it back to a 6, just because I think there are better cards in the game overall. But this is definitely a must-have. I would run 3 hands down.
All right. Agenda-wise, I think it's definitely a very, very strong agenda. There are, just like Squid said, there are certainly some better ones out there, things that score for less. When you're the Corp, all that really counts is scoring agendas. That's how you're going to win, right? So, I think as an agenda, I would give it a 6.5 max. But you're certainly going to have to build your deck to be able to maintain it. So, sorry about the bird.
Perfect. But that's what we think. The most important thing is what you think. Comment below, click subscribe, give us the little thumbs up, liked, and we'll continue this. Thanks, guys.